Metal greetings. Today we have the pleasure to have as a guest Squid. You may know him from the Twitter account and School Slabbery. He's an 18-year-old from UK and he doesn't like school. And I will leave him to introduce himself with more detail.
Hello. Thank you for having me on the podcast. I'm 15. I'm in school now. I used to quite like school from when I was a little kid till about, I think, 3 years ago when everything suddenly became a lot worse and I realized the futility of it all. And I took a lot of damage in that year of school. But in the next year, I recovered and was okay again. And it was only this year, again, last year, 2020, when I found supermemo.guru and was introduced to many of the ideas of the stuff I had vaguely thought about before, but more seriously. And understood that, oh yeah, school is actually probably actually properly bad. So I tried very hard to not have to go. And since I'm still under jurisdiction of my mother, it was ultimately her decision, and it did not go well. I spent the large majority of last year mostly trying my very hardest to not have to go to school anymore. And fortunately, it did not pay off, and I'm still in school. And today was actually my first day back, so it's perfect. So all the memories of school are fresh, and I'm ready to share them.
Oh, nice. So you mean because previously was online, right? To the
Yes.
Okay. And what was your motivation to start a Twitter account of a school and school slabbery?
Originally was Peter Wozniak, the creator of Supermemo and Supermemo.guru. He introduced the idea as a part of the end school slavery fight. And I believe he had a reason for not doing it himself, which was probably something along the lines of being old or some such. And I believe he suggested I do it. And then I picked up on it and started posting some quotes there, some stuff from Supermemo.guru, some stuff on myself about ending school slavery.
Okay. So because now the account is shared with me, with Wozniak himself, and Tom Darry. So now it's a team effort with different stages of life. Yeah. So and we.
Yeah.
But you are the one in command. You are the general in the.
I'm exceedingly unbelievably grateful that it's not just me, because right now I'm feeling much better. But earlier in the year, particularly when it was mostly online schooling, I found it incredibly tough, and there were a bunch of teachers on my back, and it was much harder for me to do stuff like running the Twitter account. So having you and Woz and Tom Darry, even though you guys aren't in school yourself, and most people like at your ages would have rationalized or forgotten about how bad school is. So it was unbelievably helpful and supportive to have you guys there. So thank you very much for caring about school, even though it's not affecting you.
Yeah, we went through the same as you in the past. Yeah. So I think it was Wozniak that decided to celebrate the education freedom in this month. I think it's
March 19th.
Exactly. Can you elaborate on that?
Yeah. In Supermemo land, everything likes to be incredibly incremental, but I think Woz believes that going fully incremental on ending school slavery wouldn't be as successful as a bang that came straight from the kids themselves of a rebellion. He keeps pointing towards Greta Thunberg, I believe, who organized a school strike for the climate change as an example. And he believes that school rebellion from the kids is likely one of the very best ways. And what he did, or I believe you are part of this as well, is repurposed March 21st, which was the Truant Day in Poland or some such, and
Yeah.
repurpose it instead of assigning not being away from school as something that's bad and shamely to education freedom, which is noble, of course. So yeah, March 19th will be strike. I think it's unbelievably important to do stuff like these, especially if it's only one day. I spent some of the day when I was in school telling my friends and the other 15-year-olds around me about the strike, and I can go into some of the responses that I got. I think a large part of why people wouldn't want to strike is, and why people don't love the idea of lack of schooling in general, is a lack of imagination. And I don't blame them. I don't think it's a coincidence at all that the people who hate the idea of the schooling the most are super memo people who understand how good free learning is on its own. So even we don't have spectacular imaginations. We just know firsthand how lovely learning for the sake of learning or for the sake of achieving your own goals is like actually intensely pleasurable. And of course, coercive learning isn't pleasurable. So we've just been off school basically for 3 months, and the kids, like, they're miserable in school, but they're also miserable at home. And this isn't because they want to be miserable, obviously, but it's just because learning is one of the most pleasurable things that your human being can do. And when it's treated as work from when they're supremely little and they're never told that, or learning firsthand that, oh yeah, it can actually be good, they don't do it for fun, and they play games and then they get bored of the games and they think, oh, life isn't even that fun. So one of the actual responses that I got was that if there wasn't any school, then I would just be bored and play games all day. I don't know how to accurately portray and share the love of learning. I wrote a post I like writing very much called Why We Learn Illusion of Knowledge, which I hope outlines some of the pleasure of learning, but learning is pleasurable and good learning is pleasurable. And there's so much to be done, so much to be sought after, and life can actually be extremely fun. And even if you aren't able to imagine what a like beautiful future of kids being free would look like, I think it's not very hard to point to like the thousands of miserable faces on their way to school each day and say something is wrong here. Something is very wrong. And even if you don't know exactly what you're pointing into, I'd encourage people who aren't sure about doing the strike or supporting the strike or supporting ending school slavery to think, instead of us going towards something that could be boring, think we as human beings are marching away from the things that we consider wrong, as we've done for the entirety of history. March 19th, strike to avoid what is wrong.
Yeah, because I think the original plot was in Poland, to do it in Poland, and then we want like an international approach that to do this in other countries. So my question is, what are your expectations in your country, in United Kingdom? What do you think will happen?
I personally hope that we can at least get a small amount of people missing school intentionally on that day. I am not sure if me not saying that I expect a million people marching through the streets will have a effect that brings that into reality. But I think it's certainly possible to have at least a couple people missing school purposefully. I think at the very least, I was telling this to my school friends earlier. It's not about getting the entire school system changed in one day. I think at the very least, because in my school, I'm at the very last year, and then we're going to go off to college and we're going to leave the school. So for me personally, I only have one opportunity to do this in my school, which is one of the very totalitarian, like terrifying schools you could imagine, which I'll hopefully go into later. But yeah, so I only have like a couple months left to show the kids who are coming new to the school now that I care about you. And when you suffer in school, people know, people are here, and people who know, and people we take seriously that school actually does properly suck, and it's not you. So at the very least, even if only 10, 20 people strike and the message of it spreads around the school, it will be a message of we care and we're taking you seriously. And the fact that you're suffering isn't something wrong with you. It's the system.
Exactly. That is one of the key points from a school. That students think it's their fault. Yeah. So you think that the first step is the awareness?
Yes. Yeah, I think so. I'm not sure there's anything we. I don't know. There can always be stuff better, but I think it's great to actually take a strike and be like, yeah, this is something that's happening. This is something that's serious. This is something that we're doing stuff about.
Okay. And are you planning to share this in social media?
I actually use extremely little social media. I think that Twitter account is pretty much it, as well as this Discord account that I'm calling you on.
Yeah.
I guess I also have WhatsApp. Yes, I can share it among my WhatsApp group. Thank you. I can do that later. And yeah, it's been my status on Discord for I think about a week or so now. March 19th, school strike, all caps. But I will also share it inside of the servers that I'm in as we get closer.
Okay. Yeah, because I think that's the point. Even if you start very local, with social media, you can get more viral, even if it's on your country, and then the next step is to go worldwide, so that everyone sees this. Hey, why are these kids in that particular school are missing, are doing truancy? Is there a reason? It's planting this seed that adults can have this question: why do they do it? Why they are unhappy? Yeah.
Yeah, I think so very much. Something I heard which I like is that teachers are constantly telling children to behave more like adults. But if you put adults inside of a room and didn't let them go to the toilet and didn't let them go to the microwave and heat up something whenever they wanted to, you think the adults would sit there and be obedient? No, the adults would form a union and the adults would rebel.
Yeah.
Because that's what human beings do. Autonomy is one of our core needs. It's very, very much only because children are children and children are new that it can be tricked into thinking that being told exactly what to do 24/7 is normal because they are new, because they have no other experiences. But it's not normal. It's not. And very, very soon, the universe will unite in knowing this. We have to start forward.
Yeah, that's one interesting thing you said, that the students doesn't know freedom, so haven't experienced the other side of the coin. They only know the coercion school system. So it's when you are a prisoner in jail, but you never experience the outside world.
Exactly. Yeah, as human beings, the only thing we can do is compare experiences to other things. That's how we get our valuations of things. And it's why when you bring up like adult education classes, which is the exact perfect parallel, like, the government has announced that for the rest of time, adults will have 1 hour exercise mandatory class each week, and we'll have 1 hour mindfulness class or something like that. Like, sure, it's good, but adults know what a limit on your freedom is like. So the instinctual feeling, I hope you felt just then, listeners, is I don't want the government telling me what to do. because you deserve a semblance of freedom.
Yeah. So you mean, for instance, the mandatory exercise class theoretically is for a good, right? So you are healthy
Yeah.
and this kind of thing. But since it's squares, doesn't have this effect, or the effect is less because you're doing it against your will.
Oh yeah, like are you saying learning in school isn't nearly as effective for your well-being as like exercise?
Yeah, for instance, you can do exercise, playing soccer or whatever you enjoy the most. But but if you are coerced to do physical exercise on a school, the result is not the same. The outcome is not the same. I don't know if you can share your own experience of when you do exercise at the school and when you do exercise on your own with friends.
Yeah. I mean, for me, in PE, I've been extremely lucky for I think both the schools that I'm in, my PE teachers have been like very jolly, kind people.
Hmm?
Um, so I don't think I've ever had like a time where I've not looked forward to PE, but I certainly 100% know people who like completely detest the idea of all exercise just because like they hate despise being forced to do PE and like purposely forget their kit and like tank detentions just to avoid it. And I think it's extremely likely that these people will end up not doing exercise when they're older, which is horrible because the life quality is horrible when you don't exercise. But when you're forced to do something, you end up not wanting to do it. That's one of the most normal rules for human beings.
And then you build up toxic memories. That's why in the adult life, most likely you don't exercise.
Yeah, yeah. And also, if we think of, say, who plays football, right? That's where he gets a lot of exercise, apart from his running. Um, I mean, even when you ask him about his running, you think, oh my God, he runs like half an hour every day. He must be suffering. But he's like, no, I love absolutely every second of it, he says. Um, it's like we need to remember what we're fighting for. We're not fighting so that we can tell other people what to do. The reason why we do anything is for happiness, for joy. In a way that like I ask listeners to stillman what I mean by that, as in like the intrinsically valuable state of human beings. And sure, getting kids to like forcing kids to exercise gets them the exercise points, but it detracts from the misery points, and that's not what we're fighting for. We're not fighting to put misery into kids. So I ask you to find the third alternative, because there is a way. There's always a way to have kids do exercise and be happy, and the easiest way for that is freedom. But we can't look at the options we have now where kids are miserable, and just because that's the default, think, oh yeah, we can leave it that way. Human beings have a big bias to lean towards the default, likely because it doesn't expend any energy to keep things the way they are, as opposed to the massive energy it takes to change things. But it's necessary. It's necessary as a species because our people from 150 years ago who created the school system, we have 150 years more knowledge than they do.
And back to one thought, something you said that you did online classes because of the
Yes.
lockdown. Do you think the online classes has been like a wake up call for parents that they saw their kids at home suffering, getting bored, and so on?
Yeah, there's a post title in my mind, which is if you want to torture something, put it far away. Which just says like it's like out of sight, out of mind. Like human beings take it incredibly seriously, not because we're evil, but just because that's how we are by default. So I can only imagine that if parents had to spend like a week in school with their kids, like the homeschooling rates would something like double or something. But it's just because kids are far away. At, I think that's so much of the reason why like the tortures of schooling can continue. And I very much hope that when kids have been at home these past couple of weeks and to see like the well, I mean, sorry, when parents have been at, when kids have been at home these past couple of weeks, I just really hope that these parents have been seeing their kids depressingly go and stare at screen all day and obey and all sorts. I would definitely note though that
Hmm?
there's something about teachers that's different on online lessons, and I hope that if this is if it, one of the things that I hate most about school is just how unhappy all of the teachers are constantly, or like most of the teachers. Like it's constantly stress, it's constantly shouting, it's
Hmm.
constantly nagging at kids and being mean to them for no justifiable reason, in a way that you'd never in good conscience treat adults who are even like somewhat equal to you. And I've noticed that in online lessons, like even the most shouty of teachers, the teachers who like actually screamed at us for getting bad grades or something, like they didn't shout. So that could actually be very bad for parents understanding what it's like for their kids to be in school.
Hmm.
I hope parents would have understood like some of the bad aspects of just being told what to do all the time. But I think a lot of the terror of being inside of a room which you cannot escape, in a building you cannot escape, surrounded by gates and people who will put you in other scary rooms if you don't obey exactly. I think that terror is lost. And
Yeah.
I try to communicate it. I've tried to communicate it inside of my writing, because I think that's one of the most valuable like exports I can have as I'm
Hmm.
still in school, because memories are so volatile, so easy to become rosy or to expire or some such. So I'm trying as hard as I can to capture that feeling
Hmm.
while I'm still here. Yeah, I feel like that feeling would be lost if thinking of what parents are learning from seeing their kids at online school.
Hmm. And it's kind of curious because all the usually the teachers were students before. They experience the school system, the restrictions, the prison behavior. So why you think the teachers are accepting this system if they suffered as students before?
I think there are so many reasons.
Hmm.
Like it boils down uh, to rationalization of bad negative experiences. I believe there's a psychology experiment where there's a person who's being who's being electrically shocked, and then there's the participants of the experiment who are watching this person being electrically shocked. And at the beginning of the experiment, um, people who are watching the person being shocked are like they feel bad towards her, but like as the experiment goes on and the participants are unable to intervene for longer and longer and longer, they start to think badly about the person, like this person is a bad person or something along those lines.
Hmm.
And the point of this experiment is to show the just world theory, which is a theory that everything in the world is fair and things are balanced. So if you tell a kid exactly what to do for 12 years and that kid is miserable and that kid grows up, the just world theory kicks in and brain starts making reasons for why it's okay. Because it's extraordinarily painful to think that bad things can happen for no reason, and extraordinarily hard to grasp. And I
Hmm.
think if there was one pure generation of kids who had to go to school and no more kids who ever had to go to school ever, and we had to give them a choice between rationalize your experiences or look at them straight in the eye, then perhaps rationalizing is the best option. But new kids are being born every single
Hmm.
day, and new kids are being put into school every single day. And there are kids now, as we speak, who are miserable. And
Hmm.
if we rationalize, like many of the teachers and parents do, then these kids will keep being miserable for decades. But yeah, that's the main reason why. Um, One of the things I noticed today is that the teachers, they really do think that they're doing important work. They really believe that. I I wouldn't be surprised if there are like extremely few public school teachers from homeschooled kids, because I think homeschooled kids understand the value of learning, and public school kids, like normal school kids, don't. So the teachers, I don't think they can understand. Well, I don't think they do. Of course they can, but I don't think they do now understand that good learning on its own can happen and is supposed to be inherently pleasurable. I think Woz sums this up in the post, "The grind is the glory." So I think teachers think that the grind is supposed to be painful. So they believe that they are doing hard work. Like there are no villains in this story, unfortunately, because that would make things easy.
Yeah, so you say that it's not that they are evil; it's due to their ignorance.
Yeah, yeah. I did actually make some notes on this. There's the idea of wearing science as attire, which is like you say you're a scientist and you do the scientific method when you're in the science classroom or when you're in the laboratory, and then you go home and you buy lottery tickets or something. Like you're there rigorous and looking after truth, and you're in the place where it's socially acceptable to do so. You don't really understand the rules deep enough to follow them all the time. And that's very much what it's like in school. We have science lessons, we have the scientific experiment, but they don't take it seriously. So if they say that, if it seems right that giving kids 3 hours of homework a week or a night, like they think, oh yeah, that's probably good. And they think, oh yeah, it's probably good. Do they actually scientifically back that up? Do they actually like scientifically back up the lifetimes that they're snatching? No. And that's what leads to all of the misery. Truth like unites us, and currently the truth about learning from Dr. Wozniak's findings is that good learning is pleasurable, and that's what you can anecdotally back up. That's what I can anecdotally back up. And it's just a matter of like not taking the science as a tire, not taking experimental data as a tire, and then going home and buying lottery tickets, or going home and giving kids 3 hours of homework a week because the government allows you to do such a thing. Taking science seriously and taking truth seriously, even if it's not immediately intuitive or immediately likable.
So that's actually one very strong point, that you want to reach the truth. It's not just you are rebellion for the sake of rebellion to government. It's that you seek the truth. And the truth is very different of the actual system.
Yes, yeah. And obvious, like in retrospect, it's exceedingly obvious that a system that's 150 years old, there's gonna be some stuff wrong with it.
Yeah, it's pretty it's pretty obvious for us, but for a well-schooled people, it's not. They really don't. Even if you give all the answers and all the information on their face, they won't see it. They won't understand it. The bad habits acquired, the myths, and so on and so on. Is that the harm of the school is that powerful?
Yeah, and the rationalizations are so strong, and I guess that's also to be expected given like the insane amount of damage from schooling.
I just said that. Go ahead.
No, please.
Okay, so one of the things you said is that you were writing down your ideas and your thoughts because they are volatile and you will forget most of them eventually. I know that you shared some of your writings online.
Yes.
Yeah. Can you explain a little your experience? What feedback did you get with your writings?
Yeah. the first couple posts I did about schooling, I didn't get tremendous, like, no, I don't think I posted them anywhere else except my tiny little blog. So I mostly got like Waz and Raj, another one of my friends, saying like, "Oh yeah, this is good, this is good." And then I wrote "The True Face of the Enemy," which I wrote when I was in school, like, and the emotions were extremely raw. And I just had this idea of, whoa, what if we personified school, and made it seem like the enemy, quote unquote, because it's a metaphor, and had the school explaining like all the hurdles and stuff that exist for a kid who's trying to escape it, which was me at the time, right? And I had a lot of fun writing it, and I posted it, and then I was strongly encouraged to post it on a rationality blog. Rationality is the study of like finding truth, and I posted it, and some of the comments were very helpful. Like one of the earliest comments was, the post ends in a sort of optimistic light, and one of the earliest comments was, it's not very helpful to end posts that show like a dictatorship in a sense of we will inevitably prevail, because that can be almost as stunting as saying that we will always be defeated. Because like imagine if I said to the listeners now, I could say with 100% certainty that schooling will be deleted within 3 years or something. Then it's like, oh, okay, I don't need to do anything. That's okay. And like, I completely understand that comment. And some of the comments were extremely helpful. Also, actually, I should say the rebuttal to that was said, which made a lot of sense, which was that like a lot of kids are just like absolutely, completely beaten in and don't even understand that schooling is actually properly bad. So saying that like we will prevail is very useful for the kids who think that, who don't understand that other people agree that this is bad and this will change. So there's a different message needed for people who are willing to do the work and people who need to be convinced that, oh yeah, this is something that's bad. But that's by the by. A lot of the other comments very much missed the point. A lot of the other comments didn't quite understand. I think the biggest gap is understanding joy and value of free learning. And that's mostly it. And it's really like a catch-22, because it takes a lot to love learning again after your love for learning has been crushed in by schooling. So then you're in schooling, and then you don't want to learn for like free learning, and you think, oh, people can't really learn on their own. But you've just been in school being forced to learn for 12 years. So I think the rise of the unschooling community is going to be super unbelievably valuable in convincing people that these people who didn't go to school are regular human beings, almost exactly as you, except one difference. They still love learning, and the first 15 years of their life weren't absolutely miserable.
Yeah. Absolutely agree on that. And the difference is that you're very young. You can, you're still in the school system. You have a greater impact on that. So going back to the March 19th, the education freedom.
Yeah.
Do you think will be worth to share all the experience, everything we can do? Because it's like we are the first engine to start rotating the wheel, spinning the wheel.
Oh, do I think it would be worth it?
Yeah. Because you said before that you only had one Twitter account, so you are not in that in social media. So you think it will be worth to be active in social media, to share all of this experience and knowledge?
For me specifically?
Yeah. Yeah, in your case.
I suppose it's an amount of personal sacrifice because like social media is somewhat uh, evil, right? With like all the skitter boxes and the addictness and constantly checking Discord and whatnot. But actually, that's it should be trivial to be able to post to like Twitter and Instagram and stuff without actually going on Twitter and Instagram, right? And that should be very easy. So
Because one of the aspects that Wozniak commented is that in that day he wants people, students, to share what they want to learn, what they enjoy learning, or even making a video.
yeah.
So, and I think we have to start with the example. Because, as you know, Wozniak is not on social media. He doesn't reveal his face publicly.
Yeah. I think it will be worth it. Things on social media, they last forever, even if not much comes of this particular strike. The education freedom hashtag will always be searchable and will always contain like an archive of all the things that were shared next Friday. And all these things, like, they provide social proof in saying, like, yeah, we take you seriously. Yeah, other people are doing the same thing you're doing. Be it in a year or 2 years or however long it takes. I think it's worth it sharing these things. And you've inspired me more so to share more of stuff I'm doing on social media. As I won't be young forever, and I won't be an example of like the joy of free learning forever.
Yeah, exactly. For instance,
Thank you.
Yeah, for instance, I'm sharing also my case, my own experience at the school. But now I'm an adult. It doesn't have that impact because people don't see me in school because that was long years ago. So your case, you're the general in the army. So your case is more how it's called. I don't know which expression to use. It's easier to identify with you. You're still in the school. You're young. Relatable. People can relate.
Yeah.
So what you're doing with
I hope so.
what you're doing with your classmates that you're trying to convince them or to so they become aware that school is not good and so on. So what you're doing is you start from your own circle surroundings, so your classmates, your school, and so on. But social media is super powerful. You can reach a lot more people in other countries. But someone has to be the first to make. It's like a TikTok challenge. Someone has to be the first one to publish it. If I do it, it won't be powerful if I do it because I am a grown man. So I think one of the things we can do in the March 19th is so people, students like you, feel engaged and share those experiences and thoughts online. What do you think about that?
Yeah, that sounds fantastic. I think that would be very helpful.
Will you do it?
Yeah.
Even if you have to create the account?
Ooh, using Instagram. Oh man.
No,
I can.
Yeah, Instagram, TikTok, whatever social network.
TikTok. It's been a long time. I never used TikTok. It's been half a decade. I used Instagram 1/3 of my life ago. But
yeah.
Oh wait, actually, I believe there is an End School Slavery Instagram account, or my friend was making one. I believe. I think I should be able to post the stuff there. But I'll definitely be using the Twitter on that day.
Okay, nice. Because the key here is that the event must be positive, must be perceived as something positive. Even though what we talk is not good, because of slavery, the harm of the school, this has negative connotations. But the message, it's positive. We aim at freedom.
Yeah. Yeah. Some there can definitely be a risk in defining yourself by what you hate instead of what you love. So I love free learning. I love freedom because human beings are incredibly smart. Even 3-year-olds, even babies, even teenagers, they're all so very smart and they know what they want. And their brains are almost always like right or much righter than something invented 150 years ago would be. So I want human beings and their beautiful brains to be able to seek out what they determine will make them happy, will help them thrive, and will stimulate them creatively. Education freedom.
Exactly. And I have one question that it's kind of recurrent in students that when we offer things like this, usually children are hesitant because of the repercussions, because the school system,
Yeah.
intimidation, fear. Yeah, it is also your.
Yeah.
Do you live this at your school? That
Oh,
kids
definitely.
fear to rebel.
Yeah, there's been talks of rebellion, for even like smaller scale stuff, like eliminating some of the extremely stupid rules at my school, and they've kind of fizzled out. I think a lot of because of fear. One thing to keep in mind, though, one thing that's very important to keep in the forefront of your mind is that it's possible for something to be both extremely scary and be both extremely useful if it does pay off. Because of rationalization, it can be like thinking that something is incredibly difficult. Like, if you think something will be incredibly difficult, your brain can start to think that, oh, it's not that I don't want to do this because it's incredibly difficult. It's that I don't want to do this because it probably won't succeed anyway, even if I did. But it's very much okay for something to be very difficult and very useful, and for you to perhaps at this moment in time be scared or something to do it. You don't need to deny that you're feeling scared. You know, importance of truth. If your brain says, I'm feeling scared and terrified to do this, admit that truth, but do not allow your brain to like create random excuses of it being unlikely to pay off as being the reason why. Because that's what lets like horrible institutions live on for decades rather than, well, live on for centuries rather than decades, right? So truth is important. For me specifically, I'll be running quite a risk because I missed a fair bit of school early last year, to the point where like teachers were coming and knocking on my door all the time, in like one of the scariest hour of my life, where like they came here and like demanded I get dressed like immediately, and then he like took me in the cab and like didn't answer any of my questions on the way there, and like took me to a room inside of the school where I couldn't leave. And yeah, and him and another teacher like really had it at me and were like extremely furious, like everything about me. And like those who heard the recording like know that like I'm trying to be respectful during it, but like, one of the things you'd be surprised that gets them the most furious is the idea that I could be still studying like on my own without teachers. That like completely like sets them alight. Oh, what was I going to say? Oh yeah, so it's possible that if I skip on Friday, then the teacher will still come knocking on my door. So I hope this is a torch in the woods of that. Like, if you're worried about skipping, and trust that it's extremely unlikely that the risk you'll be taking is as bad as teacher knocking on your door. Not to say that I'm like infinitely more virtuous or something. I realize it sounds odd, but I suppose if there's low risk to doing something that has a potential to be highly helpful, but or really low level, but helpful nonetheless, and I believe you should take that low risk. I would encourage that.
Yeah. So the risk is doesn't outweigh the outcome.
I think so. Yeah, I think it doesn't outweigh the outcome,
Okay.
the potential outcome.
Yeah, the potential outcome. Yeah, because we are positive. We are, which it's called optimism. We are optimistic.
Yes, optimistic.
Yeah, I was looking for this word. Okay. Okay. Do you want to add something else that I haven't asked or we haven't covered?
Oh, sure. I have like a bunch of notes from all of today. I've just been scribbling about all the stuff that's super bad about school.
Yeah.
I think I went over some of it like really high level. I think it can also be useful sometimes to like look at the extreme details of these things. But I think one of the things that I didn't miss out is the aspect of mortality and the role that mortality plays in all of this. It's very likely that all of us will die from the age of 70 to 100 or something, right? So we have a very short amount of time on the planet. It may seem like calling it slavery is wrong because actual slaves, whose toil was far worse. Like we all know it was far worse. Back in the 1800s or some such, like they would never get out. They would be slaves forever. So it can seem silly to compare that to people who are slaves from the age of 0 to 18. But the reason why it's still very bad is because you don't get that time back ever. If like, taking the first 10 years of somebody's life is the same as giving them a lifespan from the age of 0 to 70 to instead cutting it down to the age of 0 to 55. Time is precious. We don't get any of it back ever. And that's why, like, there's the famous quote, wasting a minute of a man's life is different to murder, only in a matter of degree. Right? It stunned me earlier today when I thought of the mass of detentions, like the global amount of detention, or even just in my school, which has about 1,500 people, right? Like over the course of the past 10 years or so, there might have been 1,000-hour detentions or something like that. Like, well, I don't know, but altogether, probably adds up to at least 20 years of combined detention times, or maybe even I wouldn't be surprised if it added up to a lifetime of spent sitting in detention, and that's not what we're fighting for. Human lives are short, and we're not fighting for humans to sit at walls to be punished. It's truly disbalanced how easy it is for a teacher to go from you have disobeyed something which I think is important for you to do, from I'm going to commit a tiny little mini murder on you and snatch away an hour of your extremely short time on the planet Earth. Because death is real and death will come, and there is no time. There's no time to waste.
Yeah.
I also wouldn't mind talking a bit about like the straight up brainwashing that happens at my school. It's comically terrifying. If so, like today, for example, we got a sheet. They were the first 2 hours of the day were dedicated to brainwashing. It was official brainwashing time, and they were here talking about all the insane new rules that they were making. And then I was like scribbling down like, oh yeah, this will be great stuff to talk in the podcast. Then they just gave us a sheet of all of the information, and I was like, yes, perfect. So my school loves acronyms, right? They have a bunch of acronyms Probably one of the earliest ones, which I think was in late 2018 or so, that they added was called slant, which is way of getting kids to listen, which is S stands for like sit, stand up straight, L stands for listen, A stands for ask slash answer questions, N never interrupt, T track the speaker. So they have control over your eyes. They can determine where your eyes look. Something that really sticks into my mind is last September or October or so, when the sun started setting earlier. And like we all know, like the sun setting is one of the most beautiful things, like as a human being, that you get to experience. And one of the kids wanted to turn around and look at the sunset, as it was the earliest it had been in many months. And the teacher just shouted at them and snapped their head back forward. It was deeply tragic. They have control of your very eyes. And then they started adding some more acronyms. Like one of the other acronyms that we have is SHAPE, which is a way of addressing teachers. So it's sir or miss. The H stands for I mean, the joke I like to make about it is that even if you don't remember what all of the acronyms stand for, they all amount to the same thing. You can cover all of the acronyms in one small word, which is obey.
Obey.
Obey the teachers, conform, do what we want you to do, and say what we want you to say. In school, you're rewarded for being a robot or such, and that's not how the real world functions.
Yeah, exactly. They reward you for the well-schooled behavior.
Yeah.
That is no questioning, acceptance, accepting all their restrictions and so on.
Yeah. Like it's even to the point where like teachers are making jokes about it not being a democracy, which is very much the case. We supposedly live in a place where all men are created equal, or some such, and I suppose it serves to point out that I actually learned fairly recently like why schooling is compulsory, which is, I presume it's supposed to be to like push up all kids, like irrespective of their socioeconomic status or such, like to push them up to the same bar so that when they're adults, like they have equal opportunities. And that would be okay, I suppose, if it focused on truth. But all learning is inherently pleasurable, and as such, any learning done at school is just, it's not good learning, and it's 15 years of torture. Good intentions, but terrible technique, I suppose. There was one other thing I wanted to say. Oh yes. Yeah. It's 2021, right? It's March 2021 now.
Yeah.
We're about a year and a half into epic pandemic of 21st century, right? And I want to tell you about the very biggest flaw in conformity that's ever happened, right? And the flaws of obeying. So even if, say we lived in another world where human beings didn't thrive under autonomy, and in which autonomy wasn't one of the core psychological needs, look at self-determination, right? And imagine if authority figures were exactly right, everything would be okay. We don't live in that world. Sometimes authority figures get stuff wrong. And when we were coming back to school in September, for some crazy reason, the official government guidelines were to not wear face masks in classrooms. So I was there in September, like, oh no, we're all gonna get COVID. I was like, whatever. I'm like, okay, I can wear my face mask in school. And the teacher's like, take it off. And I'm like, what? And then the teacher's like, eventually I'm told that the teachers are told from the teachers up above, like the head teachers, to tell the kids to take it off. And the head teachers are told from the government. And obviously that's not true, because we now wear face masks in class because for some reason the government changed their mind or something. And like what I was told back then is that wearing face masks in class harms learning. because like you can't see the kids' faces or something. But everything is fine now. Like you didn't even think about it. Now face masks are basically compulsory in schools, and nothing changed at all.
Hmm.
So they were wrong then. But this worship of authority, it makes the horrible, horrific, like mistake of assuming that authority is always right. But it's not. And if you worship authority and do any thinking for yourself, then you end up in a school in which masks are banned for 1,500 vulnerable students inside of extremely small spaces. And it was horrific for those months.
Yeah, because that's kind of surprising because one thing is that it's not mandatory to wear a mask, and the other that it's for forbidden.
Yeah.
Are you harming
Yeah.
somebody for wearing a mask?
No, it's I seriously think that it all boils down to conformity. I think one of the fears that they had was that like kids would like talk and whisper underneath the masks, and does talking and whispering deserve potential lives lost? Because there were what thousands, I think millions more deaths like in the months after, in the winter months. And I wouldn't be surprised if the official government regulation to not wear masks in clamps braces contributed to that. But if only, like teachers are very much oppressed too. If only the teachers weren't so oppressed. If only authority was not worshipped at any level. I encourage everybody to do their own thinking. Reason from first principles. What authority tells you isn't always right and can kill people, as we've learned.
Yeah, and I think UK was one of the countries with more deaths. The death rate was
Far more. Yeah.
top 10, top 5, more or less.
Yeah.
And that is,
And no one spoke about it.
yeah, among other things, is because of the regulations. That, as you said, the masks were mandatory. So that spread more the virus and so on.
Yeah.
And you said one very interesting thing is that the obedience. So in the school setting, the obey, it's the number one. But what do you think happened with the adults? Because the government want people to obey, the citizens to obey. But do you think in a general population of adults have obeyed the government outside of the school as teachers?
In terms of COVID specifically?
Yeah. For instance, the minimum distance or the certain schedule, or you have to avoid go shopping or whatever. I don't know the exact rules on your country. But the point is, do the adults respect, obey those norms?
I would say from my own eyes and my examples that tremendously few adults wear face masks or keep the proper distance from what I've seen.
Because my point is that teachers keep saying that you don't have to wear a mask because they are told from the superiors to do that. So they are coerced. It's just the people in command. They are just tools. So they are, how it's called in English, lower levels of hierarchy of the school system.
Yeah.
So it's not their opinion or their own. They are not willing to do that. It's because they have to follow the rules.
Yeah.
So my point is then why do you think as an adult, even as an adult at the school, you don't have freedom as a teacher? Or let me phrase it differently. Do you think that not as a student but as a teacher, it's also toxic? The school environment is toxic as well for adults.
I think 100% so. I know somebody who is a teacher, and they frequent the super member community often, and they said they were in a new teacher training program or something, and the person who was training them introduced it as, "We are oppressors, and we know it. The goal is to be the least bad oppressors that we can be." I'm amazed at whoever that was honesty. But I think that very much is the case. I think so many teachers are like very innocent people, um, who really want to help kids and believe that's what they're doing. But there's a massive information gap between the kids who are like screaming out in, like, metaphorically screaming in deep suffering, um, the teachers who have been told from experience that kids are to be ignored because they were ignored as children. Like when kids say they're suffering, when kids scream out in pain, you don't actually take it seriously. That's just what meant to happen. It's just part of the story. So I think that hopefully, as we see more and more like successful people, like say Naval Ravikant or Tim Ferriss or something, who, or, like, they're all incredibly successful people who say that like your work should feel like play. No coercion should be involved, or extremely little. That doesn't mean that you don't set rules for yourself. That doesn't mean that WAS doesn't run every day. That doesn't mean that Naval Ravikant doesn't exercise every day or work a certain amount every day. But it's just that it should be fun. So we should move towards a world with less coercion. Yeah, while that message is still lost each generation, as kids grow up and then begin to rationalize their experience, then it will just lead to more suffering with new fresh human beings, and it goes round and round and round. I do have a theory about why the adults, in general, don't wear face masks and don't obey the rules. Was says something about how like different channels of communication will get higher or lower weightings based on like the quality of the things that they say. So imagine like if you knew that 100 or like, imagine in general I said like super duper like wise reasonable things, right? Then you'd assume, oh yeah, the stuff that Squid says, oh yeah, this is probably all good, I should probably listen to it, right? But imagine if I said a million things and only 3 of them were true, then you'd be more suspicious and tend more to like not take me very seriously. I think when authority abuse their position, which is the default, because yeah, I think that's the default. That doesn't mean we can't change away from it, but like the default thing is when you have power, it gets abused. Then the subjects learn to not take the signals from the authority very seriously and disobey when they can. I definitely have examples of like authority in my school using authority for like no reason and really, really abusing it and just making all of us think that they are stupid. Like say like I think maybe a year and a half ago, coats were banned indoors, and we're moving indoors and outdoors all day, and we're wearing heavy backpacks and stuff. So like every 5 seconds you're there, like taking off your backpack, holding it in your hand or giving it to your friend, taking off your coat, holding it in your arm, putting back on your backpack. And it seems like it's nothing, but like multiply that by 1 million or something now because of all the 1,500 kids going in and outdoors like 5 times a day or something at least. And it's just like unbelievable hassle and pain. And this rule was invented why? Because adults aren't supposed to wear their coats indoors, or the teachers still wear their coats. It's not very hard to keep in mind that you shouldn't wear coats indoors. Does that require 5 years of training and of just general nuisance? No. So yeah, channels can very easily be corrupted by stupid and pointless rules, which leads to a lot of reactance and disobedience, even when the rules are useful. Use authority carefully.
Okay, do you want to share anything else?
I believe that gets most of it.
Okay. So, do you want to address to the listeners to motivate them to get involved with education freedom?
Do I want to say something to them to motivate them?
Yeah.
Oh
To
yeah.
wrap up the episode, one final powerful line. You're the leader. You know, you're the leader.
Ah, um, slavery is bad. If if you were a slave 200 years ago, I'm sure you'd love to think that you'd be one of the people who was leading the revolt. Of course, we can't know because you're not there then. But you're here now. And there are people hurting now, today, here. And there are people you can help. People who can be free. And the default is nothing happening and new kids being made and suffering for 20 years at a time, forever. So let us shift reality away from the default. In 100 years, or 50, or less, or less, or less, people will look back and look at school slavery the same way they look at normal slavery, or all the other atrocities that we've ended. So let not the fact that it exists now paint us into thinking that it will exist forever, or that it is good. The default isn't good. The default can be changed. We are human beings who change that is which is in our way. Our values guide reality. We can do whatever we want. So let's end the school slavery. Education Freedom Day, March 19th.
Nice. Nice. You are such a good leader. I buy your last speech.
Oh, thanks. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you very much for having me on the podcast. I think you are a tremendous leader as well. You do a great job with the Twitter account and whatnot. Love seeing your name in the emails.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you for having me here.
You're welcome. So, and also, just to address the listeners, if you want to get involved, feel free to reach out with the Twitter account at the school's library or in the Discord channel that will be in the description. We are not the enemy. We are here to help you and to help everyone get freedom. Do you want to say goodbye to the listeners?
Goodbye, listeners. Thank you for listening.
Okay, see you.